I can't even do it. What is that? Listen, man, we're getting into Rick Ross's memoir, Hurricanes, man. This is now, y'all. I played a little bit of this. I've been giving my reaction to Rick Ross' book Hurricane. I did some videos before, and I was reading some of the comments, and y'all was saying Rick Ross is Officer Wiki. He ain't no dope dealer. Well, anyway, this is from his book, and I'm gonna come back with my reaction back when he was in the streets dealing in Miami. Let's go ahead and check this video out, and this book out, and I'm gonna come back with my reaction. Hit the thumbs up button.
Chapter 7. A few months had passed since the feds grabbed Jabbar, and I figured it was safe for me to start making a couple plays again back home. I needed the money. The problem was all my main partners were out of the picture. Jabbar was locked up, and Big Mike and Booby were on the run. That series of events fucked up the whole ecosystem of Miami's dope game. Mike had entry. He switched out the curly perm for a high-top fade and taken his golds out. He was hiding out in the Bahamas with his cousin.
Now, if y'all didn't know the part, Booby and the rest of these guys that Rick Ross was talking about, they were like major players back in the day when Rick Ross was like a teenager, like in the late 90s or whatever. And they're running from the Miami Police Department, so they're in Atlanta. So Rick Ross just kind of starting off his career. I'm just giving y'all some context from the last time I played this book. Let's go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. I'm going to come back more of it.
Cousin Samuel 90 Knowles. Samuel was an even bigger kingpin than Mike, and he had cribs all over the Caribbean. When the indictment came down, Mike left the U.S. and started island hopping from one place to the next. Booby remained stateside, and we stayed in contact even after he skipped town. Sometimes I'd drive up to Atlanta where he was laying, or he'd slip into Miami for a minute and come see me. I could hardly recognize Booby then. He'd switched up his whole appearance. I was used to seeing Booby dressed fresh from his new era fitted down to his white Air Force Ones, but now he was dressed like a nerd. Booby used to have the Ford Mustang 5.0 GT convertible that Kane drove in Menace to Society.
Wow.
But now every time I saw him, he was in a different car. Never anything that would attract attention. Always something inconspicuous. With my day ones out of pocket, I started running with a new crew. Earl was getting money with a crew out of the Venetian Gardens housing projects. This group of guys, Kane, Black Bo, Short Legs, Skinny, were cool with a lot of the niggas I knew from the Matchbox, being that they all rep 37th Avenue.
That's some straight country Miami, Florida shit. Short Legs.
Came up under Big Mike too. Soon we became close friends and partners in crime. This is also around the same time I started dealing with Wayne Parker. Wayne was an associate of Booby's, and he had a big-ass crib in northwest Dade County, where my sister and her friends used to hang out at. I'd known of Wayne for a while, but we didn't start doing business together until my homie Troy brought me and Jabbar over to his house one day. In God's name, free Troy Payne. Since he was jailed, Carroll City ain't been the same. 17 years old, floating on gold things. Insane Payne was my nigga's code name. Hold Me Down, Rise to Power, 2007. Troy was Wayne's protege. At the time, we're talking 97 or maybe early 98, me, Jabbar, and Troy all had four-wheeler ATVs. We would raise hell on our Banshees. We'd ride through the city doing donuts, popping wheelies, and swerving in and out of traffic. When the police would show up, we'd take them on a high speed. Just getting the city police to come after us wasn't shit, though. We'd take it to that next level and get on the highway to try to get the Florida Highway Patrol's attention. That meant the radio call was going out across the state. On this particular chase, we had been zooming down the turnpike and peeled off at the exit near Joe Robbie Stadium. We cut through a couple side streets, and once we knew we'd lost them, Troy brought us over to Wayne's house. Wayne had a big-ass crib with these intricate Roman porch columns in the front. His lawn was immaculate, and sitting behind the gates was a full-on fleet. There were multiple Benzes, the two-door S500 and the big-body four-door 1.2. I knew those ran $150,000 a pop. Damn. Then he had the black cherry Chevy Tahoe sitting on dubs, a blue-on-blue 75 Chevy drop top, fully loaded BMWs and Acuras. There must have been 10 whips out there. To this day, the way that I line up my cars outside my homes is based on how I saw WP living in the 90s. Wayne walked out the house in a silk robe. He had a glass of champagne in one hand and a joint of some Crip in the other. Wayne always had the best weed. Before I met him, I had only ever smoked Reggie and Jamaican yard weed. Wayne was the first to put me on to the high power shit. On his wrist, he had a $100,000 platinum Rolex.
Damn.
The only two niggas I'd ever seen with that watch were Puff Daddy and Cisco. WP was a flamboyant playboy. How y'all youngsters doing? We just shook the crackers. Well, y'all enjoy yourselves and be safe. You let me know if you need anything from me. I didn't start doing business with Wayne until Troy went to prison in '98. Booby and Mike were both on the run, so I kind of slid into Troy's position as Wayne's understudy, and Wayne took on the mentor role that I'd had in guys like Mike and Booby. But Wayne was a different character than Mike or Booby. Wayne was not a gangster. He was never involved in any of the violence those two were always embroiled in. None of that shit that leads to bodies getting dropped, robberies and hitting licks and jugs was in Wayne's DNA. His success came from being a smooth salesman and master chemist. There were very few niggas who knew how to cook crack as good as Wayne did. Or his
I don't say he had to be a drug dealer. I'm like, well, if he didn't use violence, what did he do?
shit looked picture perfect, and he never stepped on anything. He just sold a lot of dope peacefully and enjoyed the fruits of his labor.
Wow, quiet.
Even though Wayne was no gangster, he was so highly respected that nobody would ever try him. I remember one night a group of us were at Club Amnesia and got into it with some niggas. We were on the verge of pulling out pistols when Wayne stepped in the middle and told everybody to cool out. He didn't raise his voice or anything. He was real calm, and everybody acknowledged him. There were few niggas who could do something like that, and the ones who did have that power were usually violent niggas.
Right.
WP was ahead of his time. I thought the feds would never catch Big Mike. He was the last of the Miami boys still on the run. His two partners, Causey Silk Bryant and Ike Florence, had been behind bars for years. Silk got sentenced to life in prison in 1989, and Ike received a 28-year sentence in 1993. I didn't think the feds would catch Booby either. He moved with the utmost caution. In all my years knowing Booby, I can't say he ever put a package in my hand. Not one time. I'd always stumble upon things someplace else, in the trunk of my car or in a trash can outside my house. Mike and Booby were so similar. Two Virgos who paid close attention to the smallest of details and made their moves methodically.
That's how we move.
But in the spring of 1999, everybody's luck ran out.
That's how Virgos move. We very calculated. Virgo men are always known as the Sigma males. You got the beta male, alpha male, and on top, Sigma male. Hit the thumbs up button, guys. Shout out to all the Virgos.
Mike had a momentary lapse in judgment that was the slip-up the feds had been waiting on. He came back to Miami after becoming suspicious that his woman was cheating on him. Not only did he come back to the States, but he went back to his house. That mistake was so unlike him.
Wow.
They got Mike on some weak shit. They snatched Booby in Clarkston, Georgia a month later. Booby didn't slip up like Mike had. The amount of attention on him just got to be too much. There was a $56,000 reward for information leading to his arrest, and the Miami Herald was reporting on his manhunt every other week.
Damn.
After he was featured on episodes of Crime Stoppers and America's Most Wanted, it was only a matter of time. He was in a vice grip and couldn't move. There was too much heat on him.
They wanted his ass.
2 weeks after the feds got Booby, I was with Wayne Parker at Studio Center in Miami Lakes. I was splitting my time between Atlanta and Miami.
Looking for a professional photographer for your next big event? Need video of your special day? Then look no further. For $100 an hour, have a professional photographer or videographer shoot your wedding, birthday party, quinceañera, bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, anniversary party, or whatever your special occasion may be. Highlight your event with professional, crisp photos and video. Check out Charles Arness Photography on Instagram as well as book us for your next event. Must live in the Southern California area.
And I was looking for a new place to record when I was at the crib. I wasn't recording at Earl's studio anymore. But this was before there were home studios, so it was gonna cost $155 an hour, plus an additional $55 for an engineer. That was for Studio Center's bare minimum C room. That's why I was trying to get Wayne to foot the bill for my studio time. Wayne knew I had talent, and he was down to invest in my career. But he had some constructive criticism for me. He thought that I was rapping too fast, and that I should dumb my bars down so people could understand my message.
Real slow.
It was raining when Wayne and I left the studio. It was June 1st, 1999, the Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend. Hurricane season was starting up again. We smoked a joint, and then Wayne dropped me off at my mama's house. The plan was to meet back up later that night with a few of our homies at a comedy show out in Coconut Grove. But when I got to our seats at the Improv, Wayne wasn't there. Fat boy, you heard about Wayne? My heart skipped a beat. In Miami, when somebody starts a sentence off with, you heard about,
yeah.
That usually means someone is dead.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What happened? You was just with him, right? Yeah. When he got back to his crib, the marshals were waiting for him. They said he caught an indictment out of Pensacola. I ain't ever know Wayne to go up there, but you know how it go. Niggas been telling and the feds ain't playing fair. After the feds extradited Mike to the pretrial detention center in Jacksonville, I drove up to see him and Jabbar. They had them housed in separate units, so I visited Jabbar first. As soon as I sat down, he put a stack of paperwork against the glass that separated.
Man, you cannot be a free, rich black man if you're doing something legal or illegal in America. You know what I'm saying? We're meant to be workers here, not successful like them. You know what I'm saying? So they watching you when you got money and you a brother. Whether you getting it legally, if you're not an athlete, well, they like, oh, he's an athlete or he's a rapper. But if they don't know where you're getting your major, when you get money like them and they don't know where it's coming from, they watching your ass. Legal or illegal.
Rated us.
Hit that thumbs up button.
It was his indictment. Jabbar's indictment listed more than 50 unindicted co-conspirators. His mama was listed. His younger brother, his ex-wife, well-known Miami dope boys like Rick the Mayor Brownlee were listed. Then I saw my name. It just said, Will, a.k.a. Fat Boy. Jabbar turned to the next page that showed the feds had their eyes on us for a while. As I read through the report, I realized we had noticed these guys watching us one night at the Silver Fox, a strip club on Jacksonville's west side. At the time, we thought they were some jack boys plotting to rob us. We had walked up on them and pulled our pistols out. It never occurred to us they could be undercover agents.
Wow.
Look, they don't know who you are, and I didn't fill in the blank for them, Jabbar told me. But they know the truck. I ain't driving the truck no more, so what's the play? Ain't no play. There were so many inaccuracies in this indictment, which was completely based on statements from confidential informants. Jabbar was born in 1976, the same year as me. But according to his paperwork, he'd been running this massive multi-state heroin ring since 1983. He would have been 7 years old at the time. Your lawyer must be all over these mistakes, right? I asked him. You really don't understand how this shit works until they come, fat boy, Jabbar said. And then it's too late.
Yep.
When I went to see Mike, he told me I needed to sit down for a while. He had no interest in seeing me taking up the torch. Go get a job somewhere. I ain't asking you. I'm telling you, he said. Remember when I used to say only 1 out of 1,000 hustlers make it? Go be a fireman or something. I was pretty shaken up leaving the prison that day. Football hadn't worked out. College hadn't worked out. Now everybody was getting indicted. Jabbar had already accepted a plea deal. He was gonna do a dime in federal prison. 6 months later, Mike was convicted of the same charges. They gave him 30 years. A few weeks after that, they gave Wayne 35.
Damn.
The way things were looking for Boobie, he was never getting out. Boobie's case was a whole different situation. He was dealing with bodies. It felt like my whole world was caving in on me. Between Tony and Jabbar, and now Mike and Boobie, my 2 closest friends and mentors had just vanished from my life. And then my father died.
Oh, damn.
In September, the doctors told him they found a spot on his lung. Within months, the cancer had spread to his liver. He had tumors the size of golf balls all throughout his body.
Damn. Woo.
Being the computer nerd that he was, I know my daddy would have wanted to make it to the new millennium and see how all the Y2K shit played out. But he didn't.
Damn.
He died in December. He was 64 years old.
Oh, wow, that's young.
Even though my father and I had been distant for years,
64?
I always knew that the love between us was there. He had moved to Mississippi.
Technically, you're a senior citizen. You're not even considered a senior citizen until you're 65. So, damn.
To be near Renee, and I knew one day I'd drive out there and we would chop it up and get back solid. It fucked me up that I was wrong about that. Why?
It had to come from smoking. Yeah, it had to come from smoking. Smoking. That's why I stopped smoking. This weed though, but weed can cause cancer too. So, anyway, let's go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, guys. Let's continue on.
Did my father die so young? Was it all those years living near the phosphate mines? Was it the cigarettes? Or was it something else? I would never know. The unspoken words between us would remain unspoken because I didn't have the heart to be the one to initiate our reconciliation. To this day, I wish I had.
Damn.
I can hear my daddy saying, "Lord nigga, go."
So he worked in the mines and he also smoked cigarettes. That could have led to both of those two conditions could have led to him getting lung cancer. When you said phosphate mines, something like that. Yeah, that's you breathing that stuff all day, 8, 9, 10 hours a day working in that stuff. Yeah. Then you smoke on top of that. Yeah.
Get him! Past the 99, cancer all up in his liver. Shit different since we last spoke. His son's a little richer. I'll never rap again if I could tell him that I miss him. Why the fuck I own the world if I can't share it with him? Bust his ass his whole life, just want to break bread with him. Crying in my mansion as I'm holding on his picture. It's a cold and lonely world. I'm flying solo on you niggas.
Wow.
All the money in the world. Teflon Dawn, 2010. Block drove out to Clarksdale with me for the funeral. I was in a lot of pain, but there was a numbness to it. What I remember more than the sadness is how lost I felt. I was looking for guidance, but there was no one left to turn to. Everyone was gone. As I lowered my father's casket into his grave, the same thought kept replaying in my mind. What the fuck am I supposed to do?
Wow, that's some deep
Chapter
shit. That
8.
was good, man. I'm going to cut it off right there. So if y'all want to check it out, it's called Rick Ross Hurricanes. I ain't going to front. The guy who's doing I don't know who narrated by Guy Lockhart. The guy Lockhart, he sounds like Rick Ross. He don't sound like him, but his cadence is very Rick Rossish. I like sometimes when they have these audiobooks and the person doesn't sound like the person, but they have the cadence of the person that wrote the memoir. You know what I'm saying? Like I like the one. It's another one. I forgot the guy's name, but he did Keefe D's audiobook. He sounds like Keefe D. You know what I'm saying? But he don't sound like Keefe D. He sounds like the cadence of how Keefe D talks. You know, the guy who was responsible for Tupac's. He was big time drug lord in Compton, gang member from the Crips, South Side. His memoir. That's what ended up getting him. And then amongst the other interviews he's done with Vlad and other YouTube channels, he confessed to pretty much being there when Tupac was executed. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, what do y'all think about that, man? Rick Ross. Some people say that Rick Ross be capping about his life story, but because they said he was a correction officer. But hey, man, maybe this is when he became, after this particular, the dude told him to get out the game. His father died, so I'm thinking the next chapter is when he, I guess, applies for the correction officer position. I don't know if y'all want to find out. Go ahead and check out the book, Rick Ross's Hurricanes. It's a play on Miami because Miami has a lot of hurricanes, and then Miami Hurricanes, the college, Miami. Anyway, what do y'all think, man? Leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and give me that thumbs up button. Appreciate it.
He said, and activism ran in his veins. All black people are going to be faced with things like that until we are where we are supposed to be in this society, he said. So every few generations are going to look to protests in that manner if things don't change. He also understood the philosophical divide between two forms of protest, the nonviolent, epitomized by Martin Luther King Jr., and the by any means necessary approach popularized.
For more of these fascinating stories and true crimes, subscribe to Charles Arnis World. Thanks for watching.